Welcome to the Dice Box and Fortune's Fools, our foray into modified 7th Sea. This, for those of you who have not played it, which I think is effectively all of you, is very much, it's bombast, it's swashbuckling, it's every freaking Errol Flynn pirate epic that you could ever possibly imagine, and it's made to be just overblown action adventure. It's the Princess Bride on acid, okay?
Ha! Yes!
That's basically about what you've got at the moment. It's effectively in a fantasy pre-revolution Europe. Currently, you are in fantasy France, Montaigne. Um, the city that you are currently in is the capital, Charouse, and you're all there for various reasons of your own, but mostly because, for all of you, for one reason or another, the underground tunnels in and around Montaigne, Charouse particularly, most of it's been explored, but there are some places that people just haven't got to yet. And there's supposed to be all sorts down there. Usually the rumors are of ancient Cyranoth artifacts, which could be powerful and world-changing and could be horrible and deadly, like the thing that sank Caligari Island last year. And we don't know, but mysterious and adventuresome in bits and pieces, and it's very, very rare that the Montaigne nobility allow anybody to go down there for a whole lot of reasons, a fair few of them involving liability, but they don't want to have to pay off or otherwise silence relatives. They're far too busy for that kind of thing. And peasants will only just piss the money away anyway. All of you, for one reason or another, have been invited to a salon party kind of thing at the house of not hugely noble family, but not. Their various relatives have done a few favors for the throne, so they're fairly highly regarded. People like you don't talk to the actual nobility, you talk to nobility proxies. And the Dupé are the proxies in question, and they are having a salon. 3 of you were invited. One of you was sort of summoned-ish, but not as wait staff this time. This time it's one of the more handmaideny of the Dupé servants, because there's degrees, there's kitchen stuff. It's an upstairs downstairs kind of thing, and Colette's been kind of bouncing between the two for a while now. Um, Unfortunately, because she's getting into the really high muckamuck, getting on to the actual nobles now, she's been below stairs for a little while. But she does get called aside in one of those ways that suggests it seems a little early for a promotion. Am I gonna get bitched at for a while? And what you got is a well-dressed woman um, who introduces herself as Josephine Dupé. I know that you're currently at work in quite a fine household, but I wondered if you'd be willing, if the family in question was willing to part with you, and they are temporarily, if you'd be interested in a slightly more diverse use of your skill set. There's to be a salon at our manor tomorrow night. Um, they're putting together something of a expedition. Some folks are going to be poking around in the underground tunnels. They're going to be looking for whatever they might be able to find. You know, the kinds of rumors that go round. And they're going to need someone local. Someone with a skill set they perhaps don't utilize to the full in their current. And it helps to have someone from Montaigne keep an eye on things. If this comes across well enough, Colette, I think we can get you still in this house, but maybe not so below stairs. The rest of you have just received invitations. One, as one has found Jaden in a particularly grubby inn, mostly because it's not that he's really that hard up for money, but he spends it like every coin is going to be his last, and he needs it for books and ink and all the other bits and pieces. The only other individual that looks as out of place as this one does is the fairly hulking Ison with the rather serious mustache, the even more serious hat, and the clank. And of course the finely dressed messenger man, who impeccably groomed gentleman walking into this rat hole of a tavern on the outskirts of Charouse because every place needs slums. Charouse has enough of them. And he's very respectful to Ulrich. You have to be respectful to an Ison with wearing that much pure fucking metal. He just hands over the card with a bow, which is basically the presence of Ulrich Stolman, Ison mercenary, is requested at the at the manor of the Juppé family, 8 p.m. tomorrow night, etc., etc., etc. And then this gentleman looks around, pulls a similar, uh, beautifully gilt-edged card, and sees this. He's not a bad-looking young man under all the dirt, and the hair that he. It's funny. It's disheveled, but it's artfully disheveled. It's looks like it's meant to hide things, as much of him as possible. And a weedy little guy, but carrying this massive backpack with bits and pieces hooked to it with makeshift chatelaines, book holsters, and a actually really spiffy looking rapier somewhere in the somewhere in you remember that woman in the labyrinth with the who basically carried like half the planet around on her back. It's kind of like that.
It's just me in the corner with all this.
And probably book.
Yeah.
Him. Would you be Master Jaden Smith? Scholar?
Possibly?
He's just looking at you like,
Yes.
it holds out the envelope, trying to avoid as much contact as possible.
Hand out, back in.
Did you pay family requests the honor of your presence tomorrow night?
Thank you.
Expression on his face like I have no idea why, but I'm not paid to understand why. I'm just gonna. And then,
Ulrich's watching.
yeah, the very upright gentleman, his duty dispatched, decides he's going to get out of here before he catches something.
I sort of propped the book up and I'm using it as to hide behind as I'm pulling this thing open very carefully.
It's. You used to see those kinds of invitations sort of at very, very big events when you were a kid. The last time you saw something like that was your big sister's wedding. And that was when your parents damn near bankrupted themselves having one of those really epic weddings.
Going to stash that very carefully near a book holster.
Yeah, they seem to be requesting your services as a scholar and cartographer.
How long before I have to be there?
It's tomorrow.
I'm going to check out the area that I want to check out the area that place is in tonight. So I'm going to actually get up and start heading towards the door.
Okay, this is gonna be fun. Okay, I'm gonna have to do something about this. Okay, let's start with Ulrich and work our way through because I have ways of getting all of you into more or less the same place with this absolute bullshit. Okay, so yeah, Ulrich sees this weedy, scruffy hermit crab of a human being get an envelope that looks exactly like his, and he actually heard the man because he wasn't troubling himself to keep his voice down. Heralds tend not to. Say that he was invited to the same thing that you were, and yet this guy's up and leaving.
In his says the dates for tomorrow too, right?
Yes, both of you. It's supposed to be tomorrow.
No, back and forth. Strokes his mustache a bit before she.
Yes! Knobs, I love
Him.
Gets up to not follow exactly, but step out the door.
Yeah, and he's heading directly for where you're. I mean, you've run in these circles, if not as specifically a noble, because Montaigne nobles are perfumed ponces, and you seldom have all that much to do with them beyond in a guarding them capacity. But you know enough about that kind of thing to have talked to various of the musketeers and that kind of thing to know that, yeah, he's heading in the approximate direction of the rich people district, and he's not dressed for a party.
Yeah, he'll saunter along after at a distance.
Okay, let's start with Jaden. Do you want to make a perception check?
yes.
He's clearly not trying to hide. And he would be at so much disadvantage. It's enough. The hat, the armor, the serious mustache. That mercenary in the that mercenary from the tavern who did receive the same envelope as you, you've got pretty significant passive perception, is following you.
Paranoia twigging. I'm going to attempt to sort of find the first corner, essentially, that I could hide behind.
Okay, roll me stealth.
And try to get behind him, basically.
Oh my god.
That's a 13 on stealth.
Perception check, please, from Ulrich.
Yes!
You see him duck around a corner, and you've seen this kind of thing before, so you just turn around and wait. And at the guesstimated count of 20, you see this scruffy head peek around the corner, sees you looking at him.
How about
Meantime, sorry, this has to happen. After having received her new assignment, Colette probably wanted some time to gather her thoughts and gather her various bits of equipment, which are, of course, in the slum part of town. And figured, I've got a bit of extra coin, I'll treat myself to a drink. And as she's rounding the corner, big, serious Ison man, scruffy little weedy individual who, by the accent, is very much Avalon, peeking around the corner at the big Ison in that kind of expression you get when cats, when cats are trying to sneak up on you and you've suddenly seen them, and then in the accent, oh bugger. You're seeing this.
I'm just watching. With a very bemused look on my face, just, oh, this is going to be funny.
I wish to go up. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna make like a cat and attempt to see higher elevation now.
Okay, give me acrobatics. Actually, before we begin, given that this has happened, what's Ulrich going to do now that he has intercepted the attempt at being snuck up on?
Ulrich just smiles, tips his hat,
Okay.
watches.
In which case, the man is smiling at you. Are you still prepared to climb? Give me an insight check.
It's a, yeah.
Okay, you've got to the next window ledge up and are still peering at him until you realize that really he just wanted to know what you were doing. And if you were kind of looking to investigate things, then he was at least interested in finding out what was going on because you received the same envelope and he's curious. And now he's watching you perched on a building like a freaked out cat.
Okay, back down I go.
I don't think I'll make you roll the acrobatics for that one. Actually, no, yes I will, because it'll be funny.
Natural 20.
You watch this overburdened little weedy thing parkour off a couple of walls, sort of somersault and land directly in front of you. Boonk.
And at a bit of a distance, you just hear,
Giant! Turn swivel.
And you are okay to you are looking at dark skin, dark hair, dressed simply, very much blend into the background, but the materials she's wearing are quite fine. Um, quite pretty, what you can see under the cloak. Pretty face. And she's apparently about finished applauding you now.
Yeah.
I reiterate what I
After
said earlier. Oh, baka.
Oh, this and a floor show too. Get the entertainment before I've had my drink. This is promising to be an interesting evening already.
I want to go. May I?
Incidentally, Colette will know that for this assignment, they were looking at hiring an Avalon scholar, an Ison mercenary, and the most arrogant, pig-headed Vendel in the history of all creation. And look at the shirt,
Oh,
my
you
god!
chuckle fuck.
Yeah, I just noticed too. Knowing my luck,
you will
I
know
do.
you will know the names: Jaden
Yeah.
Smith and Ulrich Stolman.
Let me guess. Jaden Smith, and you would be Ulrich.
I would be, madam. And you are?
Colette. I believe we have business, as it were.
Do we now?
I'm willing. I would bet money, and I rarely do, that you have received invitations.
That is correct.
There should be 3 of you.
But the most pig-headed Vendel in all creation, would he be staying in this part of town?
Ah, right. I guess apparently my luck hasn't held out as well. It would have been fortuitous if you'd all been together, though. I wonder just how high you would have managed at that point.
Well, considering the salon isn't until tomorrow, but our friend here seemed to want a head start.
Oh,
I would rather know what I'm walking into before walking into any possible things.
Colette. They would barely even let him into that part of town. Dressed the way he is.
yeah. Given where where the salon is, you're not getting anywhere near it like that, and I can give you at least some information.
The lady does have a point, my friend.
No offense.
From the window ledge that he just jumped down from, a woman with a slightly frizzy gray hair leans out and goes, "They're saying you look like a hobo!"
I just gesture to the window like, well?
Can
Shall
we
we go
talk somewhere not in the open, please?
Yeah. Shall we go back?
Yes, I believe we should.
Drat.
Meanwhile, Magnus, you've actually been put up in the manor because, you know, it's good accommodation. You talked your way into it and you didn't have to pay for it. But it's abysmally dull. As much as you love
We shall have to fix that.
as much as you love the luxuries of life, honestly, the slums are where all the good card games are. How much down are you going to dress for this?
Which part of this?
Going to find yourself some action in one of the grotty taverns in the downtrodden areas of Charouse.
Well, I don't want to soil my clothes, but I don't want to dress like I'm wearing a sack either.
Fucking delight.
So, probably
Dilemmas abound.
probably really, really good for there, but you're gonna have to bundle up in a cloak to get out of the good parts of Charouse so as not to wreck your reputation by being seen in that.
Of course. Well, no. Yeah.
Okay, so you have wended your way through the various straits of Charouse in the good parts, trying to avoid being seen in that, and in the bad parts, looking for something of interest. And what you see is a very pretty lady, a hobo man, and an Ison in an awful lot of Draconison. And a really serious hat. And an
Oh, hell,
equally
that.
serious mustache.
If he weren't Tyson, I'd have that hat.
To be fair, given the size of his head, it would probably fit.
And as I say,
And
if he weren't Tyson,
to be fair, you would have got about as much information on a different level than Colette did. You essentially talked them into funding this expedition in the first place, and you were informed that they'd notified an Ison mercenary, an Avalon scholar, and a native guide.
well, of course, this is excellent.
So, given the sheer amount of Ison, this may be your party.
Oh dear.
Brian, you're coming off a little bit quiet on my end.
Weird, I'm hearing him well enough from here, and that's unusual.
Maybe it's me
Is that
then.
any better?
Yeah, it's a bit better.
Okay, I think my system tried to mute me, but some other portion was grabbing it.
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay, cool. So yes, your attention was basically got with some fishwife yelling, They're saying you look like a hobo!" from a window. And that's when you see, yes, the Mountain of Draconison, the hobo man, and the pretty lady's maid.
I say, I believe the lady from the window above is correct. You do look like a hobo, but I'm hoping that you know where we're going.
Ah, I see my luck has turned.
Can we go?
Fine,
Open,
fine.
not
Take me
good.
to your
Inside somewhere.
quaint
Good.
little-
Get.
Boy, I see what they asked me.
I see.
I'm just
Lead on. I know not where you're going.
Ulrich eyes the new guy.
Swivel beeline back to where we came from.
It's like watching a cat.
Ulrich follows him.
I will follow along.
So yes, you end up in it's a rat hole. It's a cheap rat hole with reasonable beer by the standards of everyone but Magnus, because Magnus has standards.
And taste.
Yeah. To you, it smells like an abomination, and to beer, Ulrich takes his beer a little bit more seriously than the others, but It's alcoholic. It tastes like hops. It's fine. Whatever. Um,
Is there anything that passes for wine short of vinegar in this establishment?
I am back in my corner. I am not responding to this one. Nope, 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 nope. Thank you.
Yes, the twitchy cat hobo has piled into a corner, put a book between him and the rest of the world, and is occasionally peering up off the side of it, like, are they looking at me? No good. Are they looking at me? Oh shit, they're looking at me.
Yeah. Ulrich gets an extra drink for Jaded and heads over to the booth. And so looks expectantly to Colette and was it whatever they got, Magnus.
Magnus, I assume.
It's a little bit less of a booth and a bit more of a fairly rickety but reasonably sized table. It's just that Jaden's kind of crammed himself into the corner of it. Apparently feeling that if he really needs to escape, he can do his cat trick and wind up in the rafters somewhere.
So I assume no one responded from the bar about something approximating wine.
It's Montaigne. The wine is a little bit better than the beer. It's not vinegar. It's a little watery, but it's probably better than the beer, and it's, again, they take their wine seriously, so bad wine for Montaigne is still good wine. Just maybe, well, to be fair, it's probably better than some of the stuff you could get in Vendel.
I figure I probably stole a bottle before I left the good part of town, but I'm not telling anybody that.
Okay, so are you...
This will do. I going to assume this goblet was clean beforehand, and I will dust off as though I'm trying not to retch whatever goes for a seat before I sit down, burlap between me and the chair. How quaint. Will we be staying long?
Ulrich rolls his eyes a bit and looks to Colette. So, my friend, you seem to
Yes.
have an idea of things.
There. Excuse me. A little dusty. There is a. We're to be conducting an expedition of sorts down into some of the tunnels.
Are we now?
Yes. And I am fairly versed in them.
Excellent.
So I will be acting as guide primarily.
You will be my guide. Even better. Someone pretty to watch.
And do you already work for Madame Dupree or Monsieur Dupree, whoever it was?
Madame Dupé. She's
Madame Dupé.
She's Dupree.
Yes.
And what is her interest in the tunnels?
Would I know that?
Well, you would know that, but you would know that sort of. But technically, she didn't say. To be fair, the official order probably came from somewhere a little higher up, and at least part of it seems to have had something to do with "You will be my guide." Chuckle fuck over here.
I it was unsaid. The request came from higher, probably,
Yes, quite.
as these things do.
And where do you fit into this, Monsieur?
I made the request.
And who are you?
But of course, forgive me. I am Magnus Goldbrandsen, I, of course, come from a long line of merchant princes. You may have heard of me if you know of Vindel.
Insight check.
Go forth.
No, that is a nat one.
He's a very, very hard man to read. Your books are better.
And what brings a Vendel merchant prince all the way out here?
Expanding of mercantile trade, treasure, the sacrifice of leaving the family to better the family.
I'm sure it's quite the struggle.
Does anybody else want to make an insight check?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Ah, easy. Basically, it's the tone of voice that kind of makes you want to smack him in the face. Also, just for the sake of argument, can you make me a deception check? Because half of that was bullshit.
Half.
I'm being kind.
Should I have turned advantage over for that?
You're not really pretending to be somebody else, so no.
Okay.
You're not pretending to be a specific somebody else, so no.
And mine was a 21, so.
You're pretty sure that he's... You're probably going to want to ask some questions of some other friends later, because some of this is... Because if... Well, that's the thing. In your case, it's as much logic as anything else. If he's a mercantile prince and he's coming here for trade, why is he wandering around the tunnels? Some of the details aren't making sense, but you can't necessarily figure out which tracks you don't want to follow because they're bullshit. There's enough truth in all of it that it's impossible to 100% pick out, but he's clearly not being 100% straight with you. You two are just, can I punch him yet? I don't care if he's telling the truth or not, can I punch him yet?
Ulrich crumbles a bit, just drinks his beer.
Suffice it to say, the four of us will be exploring the tunnels.
They're going to find out more actually at the salon. It's just you've got eyes on the ground, as it were, because you're the Montaigne native. You don't know as much about the tunnels, but you can certainly help them navigate the any bits that were actually inhabited, and more to the point, you can probably keep the nobility from eating them alive. Particularly the cat hobo over there.
Yeah.
So, my friend with the book, you do occasionally put that down, yes? I am to understand that you would be drawing my maps?
Well enough, yes.
Still from behind the book, apparently.
And I'll just reach over, tap of the, and just kind of pull the spine down just a little.
You don't get out very much, do you?
I get out bloody plenty.
But apparently not out from underneath all that stuff.
I speak Avalon, and I don't know what you just said.
To be fair, you are all currently speaking Montaigne because that is where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And out of character, I
yeah,
apologize for my accents.
yeah.
I can't carry one.
It's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm actually considering getting some of those learn to speak in accents apps, but the good ones are expensive. So
Didn't know there was
I
such
would
a thing.
not.
oh yeah,
I would not try to fake a German accent.
It's easier than you think. Liam manages it really well. You keep vacillating from somewhere between German and some really remote part of Wales.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Anyway,
Anyway,
Anyway.
you're getting into it enough that the actual accents don't matter, but I kind of want more of a repertoire. Anyway, so yes, you've got twitchy cat book man.
now, let me ask. This is a nice area of town. You do clean up, right?
You do have one bit of fancy clothes that your parents sent you away with that you've had tailored. It still fits.
Note I didn't say well. I just said clean up at all. Let's just start there.
Yeah, I'm just letting him know that because, to be fair, his background is a little different than how it is being portrayed at the moment. Because reasons. You all may have noticed that your backgrounds and your outward appearances don't necessarily mesh overly well.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Function. I can function in the situation we'll be in.
What situation are we going to be in exactly? She looks between Magnus and Colette.
The salon?
It's a yeah.
After
much
the
with-
salon, the tunnels.
That is what we're going to find out.
More information will be had tomorrow on that.
But you have to play
Very
the
well.
game first.
Treasures abound. We must find out where and what and from who.
Or from what?
Yes, I said that.
I said from what, not from who. Subtle difference.
Well, I'm sure our Scarly friend can clean himself up before tomorrow.
I also want to see just how much cleaning would be necessary. It's kind of why I wanted to see what we were walking into first.
It's a salon, my friend.
And
Dancing, people, drinks. A proper gathering.
guards, nobles, more guards.
You were invited.
Yeah, you're supposed to be there. I hope.
Guards. Nobles.
You have issue with guards?
And nobles? I love nobles. Not so much the guards.
Well, they are Montaigne, to be
The
fair.
noblest of nobles.
Montaigne.
Ask them.
Montaigne.
Thank you.
The only thing they hold in higher regard than their wine is themselves.
Precisely.
Individual topping up Magnus's wine, going, whereas with Vendel merchant princes is the other way around. Walks off.
Yes, of course. She is correct,
Alright.
of course.
Barks with his laugh.
Colette just smirks.
I cannot call a lie. Their wine is better.
Yeah, that was Francine. She's been one of your best friends since you were little. So she knows how to inject a little bit of levity into some of your business meetings so you don't go crazy.
Just give her sort of a.
Is anybody going to pursue Jaden's issues? Because
No.
that's, well, obviously not you.
So, you having issue with guards, is this going to be an issue tomorrow?
Ideally, no.
That's not a no. That's a maybe.
Also not comforting.
Exactly.
I can't imagine why it would be a problem unless they catch you with the silverware falling out of your sleeves.
Or your back.
Well, that would be gauche.
Precisely.
That won't be an issue.
Good to know. What will be an issue? So perhaps we can alleviate it.
That depends entirely on who's going to be there besides us.
Could you be more vague?
Ulrich
Unfortunately,
looks to Colette.
no.
I will toast.
Colette.
Yes.
A couple of minor nobles who are known to fund expeditions of that type. One fairly highly ranked member of the Explorer Society to have a look at this bunch and see if they remotely meet the kind of standards that the Explorer Society some high muckamucks in the in the Vatican Church, trying to make sure that nothing that there's not going to be too much in the way of blasphemy going on. Some of your more under the table contacts are fairly sure that at least one of them is going to be De Kreutzritter. You might not want to mention that too much. They're church assassins.
Okay.
Ulrich has heard rumors about them. Jaden has heard rumors about them. Mr. Up himself over here knows nothing. They can't aggrandize him. He doesn't care.
A lot of the usual folk, nobles known to fund expeditions, people with interests in expeditions, people with interest in making certain that you are the type of group who will succeed, or not cause more issues in the tunnels. Also, avoiding blasphemy, as it were, and that sort of thing. The
And
usual folk.
there is the problem.
Of course, it
You
will.
plan to blaspheme?
To be fair, that one at the very least, Magnus will know, Colette will know, and even and possibly especially Ulrich will know. Avalon, much like Vendel, is largely objectionist, rather than members of the rather than centered around the Vatican Church. Avalon leaving the bosom of the Vatican Church in favor of objectionism. I mean, nobody really cared as much as they did about Vendel, because Avalon is this soggy little Fey-infested island, but there's still the fact that some individuals who follow the objectionist teachings are probably a little bit twitchy about the Vatican Church and their high-ups for a variety of reasons. Colette, make me a... what would I look for you for this? Sorry.
Adjust my camera a little. There we go.
Give me a history check with advantage.
All right.
This is one that, for reasons, Colette would specifically...
21.
Feel free to talk amongst yourselves.
Obviously, they'll want to make sure that we are not simply going to go into these tunnels and find ourselves lost.
Mm,
And I agree, I wish to not find myself lost either.
Look, my friend, he looks to Jaden. what is it that your skills are that has gotten you this invitation?
Yes, please enlighten us.
Um, mm. And I'm just going to start pulling out navigator's tools.
Yeah. To be fair, it's probably not just navigator's tools. I mean, this guy comes out with what Ulrich in particular recognizes as a pretty significant medicine kit. Um, Colette recognizes as being not too dissimilar to some of the things she's carrying. Apparently, these are alchemist supplies. On top of the navigator's tools, whole bunches of books that actually that one, and that one he'd better hide because some of the nobles she's been working for lately would probably sell their souls to own them.
My friend,
He's
you're
sort
going
of,
to need,
taking over the table.
my friend, you're going to need to assure Madame Dupay that her faith is well placed with your words, not accessories.
I believe faith
I am
may
skilled
be
in
the
all of this.
problem.
Yes, but I would. When you go to the salon tomorrow, you probably wouldn't need to bring all of these things.
This stuff does not go away from me.
Oh, that's gonna be a problem.
Oh, my friend.
So I recognize
It's going to
my
have to.
wrist to be able to speak to it.
Yeah, Colette's telling you it's going to have to be.
Bollocks!
Colette, you do have places you could store it if he doesn't trust the nobles. There's places you can think of that would probably be safe and not too far.
It can be. There are places I know of. It can be stored safely if you don't trust the nobles. That can be done and
I
dealt
also
with.
don't trust leaving it around just anywhere, so that would be brilliant, yes.
They're tools
So-
of your trade. I would not dare put them at risk.
So
Thank
am I
you.
to understand that your biggest concern is that because you are an objectionist of science, you are concerned that this will become a problem?
Among other things, yes. But that being the big one. Mostly things involving the church and...
Might I give you a bit of advice?
They get awful stabby!
No one gets stabbed at a salon, my friend.
I beg to
You
differ.
have not...
The two of them.
Sometimes they go outside, yes, but
No. That depends on the kind of stabbing. The kind of stabbing I'm familiar with is not something that has to be done somewhere special. That can be done anywhere, anytime, does not matter who.
You have been
No,
stabbed before, I
actually,
see.
matters who, especially if they're in that sort of category the church would want to either disassemble, burn, or otherwise do horrible things to. And I'm starting to put stuff away.
you hardly
Might I-
strike the most threatening figure, my friend.
Oh,
You
God,
realize that.
It's only Colette that could even remotely.
I
That-
know, and I'm
that-
just.
That does actually answer the question. It's either the second or the third of the possibilities I gave you. It
Oh
has,
yeah,
given he
has
was
to be.
talking about disassembled.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I give you some advice for specifically for tomorrow?
You do want to learn everything.
I'm just like staring.
That appears to be his version of yes.
I think that is a yes. As it is that
Go on.
If you do not wish to worry of these things, simply keep to topic. Do not mention these things. Only mention how you are skilled in what they are asking for you to do. In this case, cartography.
And probably
Precisely.
medicine to keep these youngsters alive and etc. Because the big deal, particularly for Ulrich, was, oh hey, medicine kit. I haven't seen anything that comprehensive since my days in the field, and he clearly knows how to use it. Okay.
That's smart.
My advice,
Yes, he's smart. You're smart. You're not wise.
my advice: keep your mouth shut unless asked. Respond with what you can do. Don't respond with what you are.
Or how you believe.
Raises an eyebrow at
Yeah,
that.
you may want to have a private conversation with him.
Yeah. And leave it at that.
Obviously, there are topics that are inappropriate for these sort of meetings.
I can guess about 15 of them.
Then you should not have a problem.
Forewarned is
Still
forearmed.
does not prevent stabbing.
I can. Taking another
Perhaps we
look.
should find
Taking
you a
another
place.
look at him, I'm like, I'm not going to guarantee that no one will get stabbed.
Perhaps we should
On
get
second
you
thought,
a suitable set of window leathers to wear underneath whatever supposedly you have to look decent. Would that make you feel any better?
Marginally. Knowing my escape routes would be infinitely better.
I always feel better wearing window leather.
Colette can actually make sure when you arrive, under the guise of showing him around the manor, she can give the tour and point out the escape routes. Yes, if you're Avalon, it's routes. Damn it.
I can. That information can be given tomorrow, if that would make you more amenable or calmer.
That is perfect. That solves. How? Trying to calculate the percentage here.
Your things will be safe. Your person will be safe.
That is a solid 75%. Sold.
You are very strange.
You don't know the half of it.
I am good with numbers. I will take this.
There's a look. Like, there's sort of the, oh shit, do I have to wrap it expression.
Just smile and a slightly raised eyebrow. Just we'll talk.
Clearly.
Christine.
She just looks at him and goes,
Yeah. For you too, it's what? She has a thing for hobo?
Yeah.
I love this party already.
"Oh, she's playing. That's being played deliberately."
Yeah, I know, and that's why I'm.
Fucking
Certainly don't have the reason to figure out between the
ridiculous, and I
two.
love it.
No, it fits perfectly into Magnus's expectations of the world, and Ulrich just doesn't give a shit.
The mustache cares not. The hat cares not.
So yeah, there's Vendel Windbag sipping substandard to his standards wine among the serious hat and serious mustache and the kind of nasty glare at him somewhere in between the hat and the mustache. The hobo fetishist and the cat hobo. I mean, you've had your fun. You could probably go back to someplace that's a little less grubby now if you wanted.
So, what are the additional festivities for the evening? Does it involve leaving this wonderful establishment.
Two of you are sleeping here. You live down the road.
No.
I'm not going anywhere, thank you.
Joy.
I have now switched books to one of the more arcane ones.
You're smart enough to know that immediately after you pull it out, it's like, okay, I know about half the people here can't read, but it's still probably not safe to pull out arcane book in the middle of Grubby Tavern.
Switching again. Something about sailing.
Ah, a noble pursuit.
Noble. You don't know some of the sailors I've known.
I'm certain of this.
Let that slide.
Does anybody else have any other plans for the evening?
See,
No.
I'm thinking of heading to rest and attempting to, once everyone else is either distracted or gone to bed themselves, go out to at least see where the borders of the rich part of town are.
You have a map.
And where the potential less guarded entryways and exits are.
Okay. Work with me here?
Sure.
We only have a 3-hour session time,
Got it.
and I want these guys to have fun too. I've managed to put you all in the same place once. Don't make me do it again.
All right. Then I'm just going to crash out.
So he goes up to his room, probably fairly early.
Go on, go after him. It's fine.
And I will deliberately make myself known as I go up after. Hope to try to. I'm trying to catch him before he gets all the way to his room.
Yeah, okay. I mean, he's probably distracted enough by bits and pieces and trying to find which room is his. They're more or less the same. I mean, they're surprisingly solid doors for this area, but then again, there's a lot of crime, so they probably want something that's a little harder to kick down.
So now you have Colette coming up behind you, going, "We may need to have a talk."
That's fair. Your room or mine?
You're,
Was I
you don't go to the inn. You actually have technically a basement room about a block and a half down that way.
well, yours is closer.
Works for me. More scrabbling around trying to find the room.
You can find the room fairly easily. Yes, it's just the next door down that way. In room, door shut.
Leading to room, door shut. Listen at door. Settle in.
I mean, it's basically a bed and enough space for his
Stuff.
bag everything.
Thank you.
You are
We're just
jumpier than the
doing
cat
back
you act
here.
like. And I may have an inkling as to why. And it may have bearing on a few things. You... How familiar are you with the Fae?
Cold iron makes my teeth itch.
I thought so. It's neither here nor there to me. But It's important. If I'm to guide through various hazards, it's something that I need to know. I'm not going to say anything, obviously. We all have our secrets and proclivities and issues.
With the church in particular.
Like I said, stick to what you know, stick to what you do. Just don't mention what you are. Simple as that. Don't answer anything unless you're asked. Only answer what is asked. Leave it simple. You'll be fine.
Fair enough.
And I'll take my leave. Because that's all I needed to know. I'm just not going to press.
Does Jaden have anything to ask her? Not even a how did she guess?
No, just tap tap. Nervous tick. How did you sort this out?
Because most people, particularly not Montaigne people, know that much about the Fae. You know, they're over there.
I have certain connections with certain groups that are aware of things.
These groups wouldn't happen to involve any Jennies, would they?
Sophia's actually.
Technically, he's right, though.
Right, yeah.
The Jenny's Guild is one of your primary covers.
Yes, technically.
Oh,
They
good.
pronounce it Sophia, by the way.
Ah, thank you. I did not know.
That's good. That's certainly a
As I said, we all
less
have our.
disconcerting possibility than the ones I was thinking of.
As I said, we all have things, but yes, yours is safe with me. It was simply something I needed to know going in, because there are things down there.
Given Jaden's passive perception, one thing that I should also flag up, that bit in the art with the wrappings around the hands and wrists, that's in character.
Yeah, all the wrappings on the wrists, back of the hands wrapped up. Basically, when you look at her arms, she's got.
I mean,
wrapped.
most of it's covered by sleeve, but there are those ones that sort of bell out around about the elbow. So as you're moving your hands, you can, you avoid doing that in company to keep most of it hidden or at least less noticeable. But here, you're gesturing, you're trying to put him at his ease.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
for a moment, I'm not really thinking about it. So yeah, you.
And those.
make me an Arcana check.
That is a nat 1.
You and the nat ones today, jeez.
break out the medicine kit, because wounds along there, they always bleed like a bitch, and that would be bad. I mean, she's the first person who's actually been nice to you.
Pardon me, but may I? And I'm pulling out medical kit stuff just out of the sacco things.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, try again.
It's fine. It's old.
Arcana check again.
Yes. Okay, I'm asking you to roll again because that's stupid.
Yeah.
That's still enough. And I think I'll be a little less, because some things are coming out at the moment. Wait a minute, if they're old, except they're not really, because there's at least one fairly recent stain there, but there are some. The only way wounds close that fast, even little ones, is. Oh crap, that's blood magic. She's a Porte sorceress. Aren't those nobles usually? But then again, other side of the sheets kind of thing, because there's no way in hell she's a noble.
Wait,
She can open portals.
ah,
Oh, you know.
I've certainly sussed it out, I think.
Well,
Point to point sort of deal.
well, quid
So-
pro quo. Yes, these are most of these are old, and yes, self-inflicted for reasons. And no, I am not a noble.
I certainly half wondering about that.
Uh, as far as I was told, Dad was whatever.
Well, that's interesting.
But yes, these are not to worry about.
That's good. That's very good on several levels, right there.
Okay, gotta do that.
Well, knowing all of this, that certainly solves the other 25% of the issue. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not exactly sure how that solved the other 25%, but okay. At least one of I'm glad we're now at ease. I will take my leave and leave you to your rest or your reading or your sorting,
Both.
whatever that is.
That's sorted. That's very sorted. That's very carefully sorted.
You keep using this word. I do not think it means what you think it means. Couldn't resist. That was too perfect. And I'll go on and go back downstairs.
And what about you two? What are you doing for the rest of your...
Magnus go first, depending on what he does in the first few minutes.
Oh no! When she followed him up, I just look at you and say, "Well, at least he'll be somewhat more relaxed tomorrow."
Here's hoping. And then he stands up, tips his hat stiffly and heads back for the bar for company of somebody else. if there's someone else there.
I mean, mostly it's a couple of... By this point, it's getting quite late, so there's a couple of hard drinking Charouse warehouse workers. But if you're looking for something a bit more companion-y, there's there's a few individuals behind the bar. One fairly large individual who quite openly carries a shillelagh, and the sharp-tongued Francine, who, if Ulrich is probably very familiar with the various customs of certain classes of ladies, is wearing the customary red of the Jenny's Guild. It's kind of like Mrs. Palm's whole deal, and yeah.
Yeah, he'll lurk around the bar, chat her up, see where that goes, and that's his night.
Okay.
I see. Jumpy little friend will not be the only one who's relaxed tomorrow. Good on him. The both of you, I guess. I shall find someplace less disgusting.
I'm sure that with a reasonable expenditure of coin and his own knowledge of the city, he can find himself some other way of occupying his evening than hanging out in hovel. Yeah. Okay, we're at about the break time period, so when we come back in a few minutes, we will actually take this bunch of yahoos to a proper Montaigne salon.
I fucking love Magnus.
You're all fantastic. I'll see you in a few
This
minutes.
is definitely a good idea.
And we're back with Fortune's Fools, which is far better named than I'd even hoped to. Anyway, morning happens. Ulrich wakes basically on his own. A little bit lighter in the purse because Jenny, but suitably entertained for the evening. They're good at what they do. It's a thing. Jaden, far less with the company, but at the very least knowing that there's somebody he can hide behind who understands, which is nice. Colette waking up in her own bed, going, I have to deal with this bunch of yahoos. And Magnus, with his own room in the Dupay Manor, after his own evening revels. Whatever he got up to, I'm not sure I want to know. A gentleman never tells.
And nor do I.
There you go. So you've got a day's worth of prep before you have this salon. Does anyone want to do anything with that day?
Probably just polish his armor before the big night.
Draconison doesn't generally polish that well, but
Or whatever he would be
yeah, but
doing to
it, it,
present
it looks
himself.
it looks suitably. I mean, it's clean. He keeps it rust free, but can always use a good cleaning.
Yeah.
So he can do that.
I'm going to double check my proper outfit.
Your one proper outfit is. It's okay.
Just looking over. All right, this'll do, I think. I am thoroughly convinced this is going to work.
Well, you know, you're bright enough to go as long as I don't bring the oh god, I can't bring my scruffy coat. I need my scruffy coat to hide my book holsters. I don't have a coat to hide my book holsters. I can't go without my book holsters. I have to go without my bag. I can't go without my book holsters.
And yeah, he's just starting to pace in the little Roman panic. So anyone who turns up is going to encounter that little freak out.
Yeah, when Ulrich is heading down in the general direction of breakfast, he hears the muttering and the pacing and the impending panic of the cat hobo. Does Ulrich want to engage with the cat hobo?
No. Not yet.
Nobody wants to deal with this.
Does Colette want to check in on the cat hobo? She's got the day off because she's got work in the evening, so
Yeah, and knowing how jumpy the cat hobo was the night before, yeah, she'd probably make a point of stopping in and checking up.
given that she'd be going in through the back door, it would probably very much give the impression that she stayed the night. Which is another good reason for it, so hey. So, yeah, you, after Ulrich's gone to try to find himself some breakfast, you come up the back stairs and hear the pacing and muttering and incipient panic of the cat hobo.
Oh boy.
He was much better last night. That was a knock.
And doors just squeeze open.
You were much calmer last night.
And he's
Hi.
actually dressed not badly, except no coat and book holsters.
I need my books. Help me.
Boy.
You're smart. He needs a coat.
Yeah. Colette's looking at you, sizing you. Well, you need a coat for one. That's definite. You can't wear that. Okay.
Looking
Okay.
forlornly at the scruffy coat.
The scruff on that coat has scruff.
On the other hand, it does look comfortable, warm, and probably protective.
Yes, but the scruff on that scruff has scruff.
Fair.
Okay, we need to go shopping for one. So that's given. You can take your book holsters, but we need a coat for you. So that's what we are going to do for at least part of the day. Does that help?
Yes, that helps a lot. Yes.
Okay. There's something that we do here called breathing. You're not doing it.
That interferes with the... Fine.
Just stop a second. Just pause. You act enough like a cat, you should understand pause.
Food. Thinking cat food. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Maybe if we put food in him.
Yeah, speaking of food, I think would help. Let's go downstairs, get you some breakfast, and then we'll figure out the day.
Works for me.
Yes, for Ulrich, the food in this establishment is plentiful and largely involves sausage. You're good.
Yep.
And so now you're seeing the two of us coming down the stairs.
Ulrich nods politely, passes on. He wants his breakfast.
Yeah, well, I figure he's sat down with his breakfast because the talking him down from his panic would have taken a little while, and you missed her coming up. So, there you are with eggs, sausage. There's bits of toasted bread. They're good for stuffing sausages in between, so that's fine.
Yeah, he just digs in, taking it easy.
But Magnus would be horrified by the breakfast on offer, because usually the food offerings in Montaigne are far more appealing to the palate.
And, yes, things that taste like something.
In this case, it's plentiful, greasy, and filling. That is what they're going for. Also cheap. So yes, Jaden is just like food. I mean, you're effectively have you're rather older than you look, but you have the effective body and metabolism of a teenager.
One sandwich.
Simply because of what you are. It's not
Two
so much
sandwich.
sandwich, it's plate of eggs, bacon, toast. Well,
It's just growing.
egg sausage toast.
Yeah, that's just that's progressively being devoured at a remarkable rate for someone so
skinny. Yeah, so Ulrich is watching this pile of a pile of food the size he was getting vanish at about twice the rate he's eating his.
Yeah, he's definitely impressed.
He had a good night.
Oh, this is nice.
So Colette is watching as the big Ison mercenary is actually looking impressed at the shrinking mountain of food, and you're kind of wondering where he's putting it.
Apparently, panic makes one very hungry.
It does. And now that there is sustenance in my system, that is so much better.
Obviously, Jaden here will need a coat for the evening because they're insistent on wearing those. Just pointing at the holsters.
It's a good shirt, good trousers, good boots. You wouldn't have thought he had it in him, but book holsters.
Well, I'm sure you can find a tailor in the city that has something on the rack already.
This is Charouse. They might, but here it's mostly bespoke.
Yeah.
But Ulrich has no reason to know that. I mean, he doesn't have to worry about what's under the armor. He can just go in the armor, and who is going to argue with the massive lump of Draconite and with the massive panzer hand and the equally massive sword and the very serious hat? Look, I am highlighting the hat because it means you can't hide under a helm forever.
Yay.
Yes.
Well, that's part of what we will be doing today.
Yeah, that's another thing. Jaden might for Colette. Jaden can't wear his hair styled like that, and now you've got a fairly good idea why he's wearing it that way. He might also need a hat.
And looks him up and down, looks at the hair and a hat.
Oh,
Point taken. Yes, hat would be brilliant.
So he just kind of leans over and a hat. So yes. So that is what we are doing for part of the day. I don't know what you need to do to get ready, and I don't know what our princely friend needs to do, though he's apparently already at where we are going. So
Is he now?
that's
Well,
where he's staying, is my understanding.
regardless, I'm sure he can take care of himself, and he's likely already started decorating
Taking
himself by
himself
now.
Being taken care of.
If he starts now, he may actually be finished by the time the salon starts.
Precisely, but as for myself, I am
And if he's doing that,
quite prepared.
he might be a big enough distraction.
Yeah, the idea is to make him more distracting than you, apparently.
Exactly. The fancier and sparklier he ends up looking, the better.
But
He
Not
has
if
a
you're
point.
Oh, I'm not. No, out of character. I'm not. No, you're absolutely right.
No, what I mean is Colette being who she is and what she is, would know. Actually, no. God, he has survival instincts.
That's wow. That's okay. That's yeah. You are correct. You are bravo.
Facilitate other things being shiny, know your escape routes, and make sure to be as inconspicuous as possible when required.
oh boy.
I mean, when required, it's good to be as inconspicuous as possible all the time. But anyway,
Ideally, yes.
But you have to, for Jaden, but you have to relax sometime. I gotta be me sometimes, or else I'm going to explode at bad times. I vent when it's safe!
So, are you always this you?
A bit. A lot of it. When it's safe to be.
Thank you.
I need more breakfast.
Oh, he's completely missed why she said that. Okay.
No. He twigged into that. He's just like, nope, not
Not dealing with it.
touching
Okay.
that.
Not right now.
Fair enough.
You could see it registered, and he had no idea what to make of it. So he's just going to go eat more food.
Okay, fair.
There is one thing this place has to recommend it that at least Ulrich wouldn't care about. They have tea. Proper tea.
Yeah. And I'm making sure to get a few instances.
Yeah,
So-
basically, he's got a whole pot for him, and it's like, I've got my tea. Are you having any?
Anyone else
So-
want any?
Are you?
Hold it up. It's like,
That's
anyone?
enjoy.
I'm starting on the second pile.
You're going to bloat, dear. Are you staying here until time? Are you going to accompany us in our endeavor to get him beheaded? Or
Your armor doesn't really need that much cleaning, and it could be entertaining. And you're gonna need someone with a map. May as well
Yes,
keep
I
him out of
suppose I
trouble.
could stroll out with you.
Well, this is like most of a sausage. Huh?
are you going to eat all of that now, or because we
Uh-huh.
do? All right.
And
Commence
he-
buzz
The day
saw.
the day is waning.
And he finishes it in record time. You're about finished. The day is waning, and he's mopping up the last little bits of egg.
And so has the meal. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to
That's
collect
a nice-
a couple of things before we go anywhere. I can't very well be carrying all the stuff when we go everywhere.
Which is kind of what I've been saying, but yes, okay.
So what are you taking? What are you leaving?
Well, I get halfway through getting up and then think, wait, didn't you say you had a place where I could leave all of it?
Except it's in the manor. Although you do have your own place.
I have. That was in the manor, though I do have my own location. I do have my own place.
Would it be possible to leave the stuff there? At least part of it at
I
your...
wouldn't have mentioned it if it wasn't.
Theoretically, by the way, your little retrieve trick, you can open that portal. I'm assuming you've got one bit in your safe house.
Mm-hmm.
You could just take bag, go in, leave bag, come back. It's a little too big for.
Gotcha. That's what I was questioning. Okay. Yeah, this can. Jane, your things are still in the room, correct? You're so all over the place. I had to question. Let's go up a second.
Stump.
Are you
Right.
ever gonna share with dude? He's gonna have to know what you can do at some point. I'm just saying. I don't blame you for not wanting to tell Baron von Windbag over there, but
Um. Well, I don't yet know enough about him,
fair.
so. But yes, I do actually plan. But when it's
When it's
when,
yeah,
it,
okay, fair.
when it's funny,
Okay, fair enough.
well, Roger Rabbit. Anyway, right. Get what you're taking, and leave everything else in that bag.
Medical kit, some of the vital navigator's tools.
Basically anything you can kind of tuck into the book holsters or pockets.
Yep, book holsters or pockets. Yeah, basically whatever pieces of my various toolkits can actually fit.
And don't require the bigger bits to work.
Yes, and don't require the extravagant contraptions to do anything.
Yeah, so you've got
Notebook and
notebook.
book for
Yeah, notebook, pencils, compass, a couple of the more I really don't want to leave it alchemy stuff. Probably in little kind of like an ammo belt, but for glass vials, sufficiently padded. But yeah, there's still a lot of stuff.
All right. Put whatever you're not taking in that bag.
Everything you're not taking is already in that bag.
it's all there.
Okay. Right. So I grab the bag. Okay.
Well, it's a backpack, so you can.
Oh, okay. I'll. Oh, jeez. How heavy is this?
It's pretty heavy, but you've got better strength than he does, so I think.
Oh dear. Okay. Okay. And I'll pull out a dagger, plain dagger.
Yeah, I should hope so.
Yeah, I made note of that too. Right.
Roll your
Move,
1d4.
move some of the bandages over out of the way, and make a cut.
Yeah, basically,
Proceed to-
it's she's. You know enough to know you do not look in the hole. Never look in the hole. There's things in there. But she covers her hands in the blood and reaches. No, it's actually punching a hole and
Oh,
rips.
right. Okay, and yeah,
rips a bleeding hole in reality.
Trying to avoid looking at it, just double checking. Sword, everything else.
Yeah,
and just
Yep.
through.
And you're back in your little cozy basement room.
I hate that.
It's healed, but it's scarred. I mean, your scars all the way up.
Oh yeah.
Which is a good thing about salons. It means you don't have to wear the wraps, you just wear gloves.
Yep. Drop the bag. I'll find some place to stash it out of the way, not readily visible.
You've got hidey holes
Exactly.
for various of your own bits and pieces, and at least one of them is large enough to hide a bag.
Perfect. Okay. Right.
You don't have a blooded item at the inn.
I just realized that.
But it's a block and a half away. You can just walk back.
Yeah. So.
Which, because it's funny, she goes up the stairs, and then Ulrich, finishing the last bit of breakfast, watches her walk through the front door about 5 minutes later.
Yep. And she proceeds to walk straight to the stairs, waving at him as she goes by, and just like it's nothing. Just hello and
Yeah, you might want to leave a blooded item with one of them.
Yeah. I'm realizing that now. Yes, I would have. Yeah.
So this one walks back in a few minutes later.
Right. That's taken care of. Your things are safe.
You are brilliant. Thank you.
Now, do you have anything that you will not lose amongst all of those bits and pieces?
That's one thing. You never lose anything.
None of this ever.
Okay.
Not once.
I need something.
You do have a. It's a funny sort of a pendant which you always keep hidden in your shirt. It's. I mean, it looks like. Literally looks like a very large teardrop. No one's been able to tell you exactly what it's made of. Could be actual tears for all you know. It was from your relatives on that side. And it never leaves you, and you let hardly anyone ever see it.
Hesitation. Slow producing of the item.
You've seen enough Fey created things to know what that is. That, for you, that's kind of a. It's almost a beacon. If anything really bad ever happens to him, like really, really bad, like nearly dead bad, someone will know.
Ooh. That
You can still blood it, but
that
but very few people get those.
do you don't I'm looking at him trying to do you have any idea what that is?
I've been trying to figure it out.
For lack of a better way to put it, it's a signal. It's a beacon. Basically, if something goes sideways and you end up in a world of hurt, someone will know. I don't know who, but someone will know. Either way, that's perfect.
It won't even take damage. It just prick a finger.
Yeah.
And daub and focus. The blood will fade, but the intent
Hold that
will
out.
be there.
Hold that out for a moment, and pulls out the dagger again. Boink. Near. Just like boop.
Yeah, there's a very brief glow of red, and the blood is gone. But you can feel it now.
Okay. That will get me to that.
Brilliant.
Would have saved me a walk.
Would now
Anyway,
be the time for hat.
correct.
And back down the stairs they go. Stopping at Ulrich, who's finishing his coffee. Yes, they have coffee. It's dreadfully expensive in this place, but they have it.
Tea would probably serve you
Shall we
better.
be off?
Yes, let's.
What about you? How are you spending the day, Magnus?
Well, I am starting out with one of these wonderful plums that I put outside my door. And after that, I will, of course, get myself dressed because I will not be a heathen and barbarian and run around without. But I will maintain the edge of my rapier while I finish my plum. And then I will do something that I believe may surprise my new partners. That tastes terrible to say that word of them. The sketchy one. I think he needs something to make him feel less sketchy. I'm going to go and look around this wonderful city and see what I can come into contact with that would approximate window leathers. Preferably a merchant window leather, so it has pockets for him to put his silly little bubbles in. And being that I am rather adept at clothing, I figure I can find something that will fit his person, and I will have it sent to him. And while it would seem a bit out of character, it would make me look better, so it's a much more important thing to do.
Okay. First thing, Magnus, make me a persuasion check.
Haha.
You don't get the kind of discount you would like, but what you wind up with is worth it. Because what you get is it's Venda leather quality, and it sort of approximates a greatcoat and leather waistcoat, so it offers protection from the body, pockets in various places, and still has the look of something that more of a gentleman scholar would wear. But as you're hesitating to have it sent to that inn, this lot go tromping by.
On
Apparently
second thought,
shopping.
I will just take it to myself. I don't think that I want it delivered to such a place. Thank you very much. Hand over the coin begrudgingly.
And it, there's I mean, he's not in hermit crab mode. Although he is coatless and wearing holsters, but with books.
I will.
His face is clean, but his hair is still.
I will quietly catch up to them.
I'll say you can do that. Although, with given 2 of their passive perceptions, they see you coming.
Okay. I'm just not going to scream in the streets.
Oh yeah,
Ah,
but you see him sort of bustling up in with a well wrapped parcel.
oh, oh,
Ah,
doing a bit of shopping yourself, I see.
Sparkly one's
Well,
back.
well, I had a suspicion that you might need some assistance, so I found this for you. It's not Vindle leather, but it will do.
Oh, oh,
Yeah, your society, Jaden, some of the high muckamucks wear stuff like this.
Eyes are the size of dinner plates right now.
I thought you might be a bit more comfortable in this, both to be in where we're going and to appear, but also to be actually a bit more safe. You see, I do pay attention once in a while. It benefits me, you see.
And now all you
Eyes
need is a
are
hat.
getting wider.
how generous of you.
well, in this
Thank you.
case, all we will need now is a chapeau.
I'm sure
I'm
there's a
currently trying this
haberdashery somewhere.
cavalcade thing on.
Yeah, it's easier to put on than you'd think, and it does. If it weren't for the hair that makes him look like he was dragged backwards through a furze bush, he'd actually look quite respectable.
I thought you might enjoy the pockets as well.
Yes, there are pockets, and your bandoliers for pencils and vials and things would fit in wonderfully and make it look more like a fashion accessory than you know battle ready stuff.
And things are starting to get rearranged even as the speaking is happening. I've just gone full tunnel vision into sorting my things.
Goodness, he actually does know how to. Very well, you look quite respectable.
And when you're done putting all the things away, you still actually have pocket space.
Yes.
And there it is. I see. Yep.
The brief flash of mania.
Are you going to thank the man?
Thank you.
There's going to be a sort of just both hands on his shoulders. Thank you.
Yes. You are welcome.
Wow.
Release me now.
I let go before he's even gotten the words out.
Not much for contact. Okay, duly noted.
There's a haberdasher that Colette knows that she's been sent to pick up packages there a few times. They do good work. Might be worth a look. Plus, the proprietor owes you a bit of a favor, so.
I do have a place in mind for the hat. It's this way.
Oh, duly done. Let us see the haberdashery of these parts.
It even actually meets your standards. Nice place.
Impressive.
They do good work.
As you come in, Colette, how have you been?
I've been all right.
I am assuming we are not shopping for him. Points to Ulrich. I think he is sufficient.
Good evening. Good morning.
I think he is sufficiently be-chapeaued.
Indeed. And
I would not dare to try to replace such an accessory.
We are here for my friend.
Sort of slide into view like a hype man. Hello.
Hold on. Yes, well, we shall have to do some measurements. And all of a sudden,
do these?
It is my name above the door.
Well, I just didn't know if you had assistance or if it was all you.
I do have some assistants, but they do the nitty gritty. And in fact, at that point, like a couple of assistants, him and a couple of assistants sort of descend on Jaden.
Just blind terror right now.
I'm
It's
very
okay, you
impressed
get
with
used
your
to it.
work. I would
Deer in
hate for you
headlights.
to
Total freezing.
descend upon my awesomeness if it here is. I would hate to see what would happen to your hands. They are very skilled.
No, he has suitable hat. This one does not have suitable hat.
Precisely.
And they're measuring and looking at the various colors and so peering at the eyes and looking at the color of the hair and just every detail of him is very closely looked at. Is this what he will be wearing when he is wearing this chapeau?
Yes.
I
one last.
I turned to him to let him answer, and just sort of.
He's frozen.
Yes, it is. He's apparently never been quite so catered.
Just this expression, I've gone completely ash, deer in headlights.
That is not your usual skin tone. This is going to be problematic. We will do our best with this. Excuse us. Boom. And now it's just the gentleman proprietor as the assistant sort of bring out a selection of hats. They eventually settle on a sort of a Will Turner at the end of Curse of the Black Pearl kind of thing.
Nice,
complete
nice.
with the little flower on the band. We will have to do something about the hair, and they do start actually reaching to try to tidy. Okay? Okay?
Egads, man.
Okay?
It's
It's
just
quite impressive, my friend.
Yeah, but
One
they haven't put the
moment.
hat on him yet because they were gonna
Oh.
tidy his hair first. So just
One moment, sorry. And I'm going to go about doing that myself as much as possible.
perception check from Magnus and Ulrich.
Yes!
And I point out that was not a natural one.
No, it could have been a whole lot worse. Yes, you guys are too busy trying to make sure that the person who tried to rearrange Jaden's hair still has all his fingers.
No, I'm looking at a hat over there.
Okay, he's making sure that the individual has still got those fingers. You've seen a perfectly charming hat. All three of the shopkeepers are looking at Jaden, and they're not saying a word.
I'm
The
look.
deer in
Client-
headlights look has gotten worse.
Client
I'm-
confidentiality.
Yep.
I'm looking at them. I'm looking at that look, and I'm just looking at Jaden, going, and I'm nodding. Just
And they hand him the hat.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you a lot.
You might want to put it on now with your hair tidy.
Carefully applying hat.
And yeah,
Ah.
by the time you guys are looking, he looks. And he's washed his face. He's got the new coat. He's got the
I would
hat.
stop just short of dashing, my friend.
In a word, thanks.
Most assuredly.
The only thing that's missing is an expression that isn't deer in headlights.
my apologies about the nerves. I should have mentioned, but there wasn't a tactful way to do it as quickly as was required.
Client confidentiality is. I take it this is the favor that you're owed.
Yes.
Very well. We will apply the same rules of confidentiality that we've expected from you.
Of course. Thank you.
Now, let's look at this one here.
And they assist you with whatever wears your shallow, flighty heart desires.
My good.
And you get to watch him being Vendel Clothes Horse right up until around the time, the point, like a couple hours later, where during the shopping excursion, because this one's gonna. Charouse is one of those places, fantastic shopping. Vendel's very big on mass production, but Charouse is great for the bespoke stuff. And I mean, it's even better for nightlife, and you're kind of looking forward to checking that out after you have done your adventuring. But a couple of hours after he polished off 2 massive plates of breakfast, you hear his stomach.
We should probably see to, well, lunch at this point.
Is that what that was?
That was, yeah.
Apparently.
You didn't see what he already went through. Apparently, as I said earlier, well, you weren't here for that. Panic makes one hungry.
It very much does.
I can but imagine. No, I can.
We'll want to feed him before the salon so he doesn't have dinner in that manner.
So
Well,
he doesn't eat the salon.
Yeah, salons don't have a dinner anyway. They have petit four. They have They have hors d'oeuvres. They have.
So
Wine.
he doesn't vacuum the hors d'oeuvres.
They'd end up in a hobo
Americans,
pocket.
oh my god. Sorry. I really am sorry. It's just, I can't right now.
I'm having a few flashbacks to catering instances myself.
Yeah, so you're going to, you basically after the whole in between bouts of shopping and getting him back somewhere where the volume of food does not counteract his surprisingly good table manners. Because he does. He has impeccable table manners.
Oh, good.
It's just he uses them very, very quickly. But, he chews before swallowing. He doesn't talk with his mouth full. In fact, when he's eating, he doesn't talk at all. Because tunnel vision food. But yeah, it's basically lunch, more shopping, dinner. And then pretty much immediately after dinner, the salon kicks off. Magnus knows, Colette knows, fashionably late. So these two are going, Ulrich and Jaden are just going, if we want to get there on time, shouldn't we leave like now? And you're like, on time?
On time? Mm-mm. No, that's not the done thing.
Oh, that was amusing.
One never arrives on time when one can arrive late.
Montaigne's.
I beg your pardon.
I didn't say anything to you.
Oh, bloody hell, oh, bloody hell, bloody hell. Bounce, 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 bounce.
Not all of us can have such a impressive bit of armor to carry us through. Some of us have to dress ourselves up as our friend here.
Kind of vibrating as the time ticks onwards.
For Colette, who's been playing Montaigne's game for a while, he's talking about a more metaphorical kind of armor.
Society in Ison is much more straightforward, my friend. It makes life much easier. He says with a lot of rose-colored nostalgia.
Well, to be fair, you're quite right. He doesn't worry about daggers in the kidneys at dinner. Maybe the occasional panzer hand to the face, but at least you see it coming.
Oh, what everyone would give for something that... straightforward.
To be fair, Avalon society quite straightforward. Sealy society, not so much.
That's exactly where I was going with that.
Eventually, you do come to the time when they don't have wristwatches. Eventually, you come to a time where he would not be horrifically unfashionably on time, and not horrifically unfashionably disrespectfully late either. It's a fine window. Any of you who play Dragon Age Inquisition will know that fine window.
But yes, when it is time, Magnus will be quite ready to move on.
Yes, and we move on. The nicer parts of Charouse are, for those who have not seen them yet, very, very pretty. Even the guards are, I mean, there's armor, but there's also, fine tabards and embroidered in gold, and really impressive to look at. But of course, the guards are also carrying fairly serious swords, and they do not want you making any trouble. Colette, in
Side-eyeing.
particular, knows that part of the reason that there's an increased, musketeer presence on the streets of Charouse is because the revolutionaries, the Relassier, the ones that they kind of, her people kind of desperately want to kind of maybe make a little less violent, have been doing shit, and apparently there was a thing in town down to the south the other month where one bunch of these yahoos was trying to blow up a barracks, but some you got the story about this because one of the people involved was one of Sophia's daughters. Apparently, something slightly legendary did manage to prevent the destruction of the Musketeer barracks in the primary military town of Montaigne, but also blew up half a city block in the process because it was the only way. Save the Musketeers can never go back to that town again. But yeah, there's been a lot of gunpowder, treason, and plot going on. So now they have a higher musketeer presence on the streets. Jaden, however, is probably just going officials with swords. Officials with swords. But eventually you come to Ain for Jaden, for Ulrich. The Dupay Manor is a very impressive example of pre-revolutionary French architecture. It is also one of the smaller manors in this district, and you can see that quite clearly. There are two household guards standing by the door, well, double doors, which are open, and there is also an usher. They will probably be expecting everybody's invitation but Colette's. You know these people. The usher sort of looks you over. I'm assuming you took the time to change. Ah, Mademoiselle Dupuis. These are your charges, yes?
Yes.
They have their invitations, I should hope?
And I just turn.
Takes them. If you would like to pause in the entry hall while I introduce them. And steps. It opens another set of double doors, and the sound of small string quartet and conversations increases until ahem, at which point the music gets quieter but doesn't entirely stop, and the conversation dies. Our honored guests, Ulrich Stallman, mercenary of Eisen, veteran of the War of the Cross. Magnus Guldbrandsen, gentleman adventurer. Jaden Smith, scholar of Avalon. Colette Dupree, and that's basically it. People start talking sort of halfway through her surname because they know there's nothing to add there. And up clatters a very well dressed, fairly pretty woman, a little thin and harried looking, but this is her party and she'll stress if she wants to. Colette, how good of you to come and bring the gentleman. I'm sorry about the usher. You know what he's like. One day there's going to have to be. You were muted.
Of course, it's fine.
It's not, and you know it. I will, of course. First, I will greet you. I'm Josephine Dupé. This is my home. This is my salon. It's a pleasure to meet you, uh, Herr Stolman.
Ulrich takes off his hat, bows very appropriately. Madam,
Mr. Goldbrandsen.
Madame, at your service.
Mr. Smith.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
Bow and take
And
off
he
your hat.
follows through,
Uh,
trying to make sure this stays hidden as much as possible.
you can't when you take the hat off. At which point, perception again from you two. Magnus, not quite. You notice the stress. Ulrich. Let me have a quick look at your sheet for a minute. I can give you this one on a religion check.
Noms?
Uh,
Oh, no,
there you
okay.
go.
I thought you were frozen.
He's
I'm
moving
here.
now. Religion check, please.
Oh, you wanted to check.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. Those subtly pointed ears, the amount of time the amount of stress he's had hiding them, some of the other bits and pieces he said, and some of the Vaticine dogma. Somewhere in his ancestry, there's some there's some fae in there.
It is good to know. Or, side eyes a little bit, but quickly turns his attention back.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, you think there might be a bit of deformation there, but it's probably just, he's probably just embarrassed about his disfigurement.
He got his head stuck in the door. It's fine.
Josephine also looks over at Colette while he's still bowing, with a look of one of yours. I think we will have to have a private conversation a little bit later in the evening, but I cannot monopolize you right at the start of this party. There are some influential people who are helping to fund this expedition. If you would like to see what information they might be able to provide as to why they are so interested in this particular expedition, we will then discuss the particulars.
I await your leisure, Madame Dupree.
She's Dupree. This is Dupé.
Dupay.
It's okay. It's sort of anyway. But please, by all means, mingle. We've rather raided the cellars this evening, so you should find some wonderful vintages. Although there is one that was an absolutely fine bottle that I was hoping to keep aside for our private conversation, but it seems to have gone missing. Colette, I'm going to have to at some point ask you to speak to some of the staff, because a bottle such as that goes missing, and I hate to accuse, but I do need to know if it's something that fine.
Understood.
Yes, it is probably the one you stole. So yes, by all means, mingle away. I mean, there's some dancing at the in the center of the room. A fair few people are watching you. There's a bunch of somewhat grizzled gentlemen who, much like Ulrich, are not wearing those fancy ass knitting needles and are wearing actual fucking swords. Not armor, but actual fucking swords. So that's something. Um, instead of a refreshments table across one wall with the bar sort of off to the corner with an actual gentleman, opening wine bottles and pouring if anybody is recommending a specific vintage. A rather wealthy looking bunch are kind of hovered by the wine bar, as it were, just chatting, looking you guys over. Everybody's at least taking a glance or two at you as they go about their business.
I'm going
Colette.
to.
Never mind.
He started speaking.
So you'll go first.
I'm going to make my way over to the refreshments table. I'm trying to find the hors d'oeuvres. And maybe catch some conversation as I'm passing by any of the richer people.
Okay, I mean there's basically 100-yard long table full of hors d'oeuvres.
Just
Colette's keeping an eye on him.
Ulrich was going to ask Colette that, but seeing that she has him well in hand.
Yeah, I'm going to. I'm basically going to be shadowing Jaden for a bit.
So, what's more important to you, the food or the conversation?
Look for something. What's a food that I probably, is there any food that I haven't had in a while? Like anything that I haven't had in that I recognize that I haven't had in forever. Even something vaguely looking like.
Now we roll the hand of fate.
It was funny.
They consider Avalon food to be disgusting. So most of it is what you consider to be runny cheese, overly complicated ham, far too many things on tiny little wooden sticks. Things that your biology books tell you at one point were crawling around on the bottom of an ocean somewhere.
Curious about the ocean thing. I have to try that, so I'm going to grab one of those and sort of sidle around near conversation happening.
Yeah, you have basically a. It's a very complicated tasting tiger prawn. And you're eavesdropping on the wealthy people?
Basically trying to, eavesdrop on the nearest gaggle of gossipers, essentially.
Okay.
Anyone having a conversation.
Yeah, the prawns are a little bit far away from the wine bar, so you're more getting a giggling group of girls who seem to think that Magnus is the bee's knees. One of them apparently has a thing for Ison, but the beard, it would be like kissing a fur rug. And at least two of them think that you're going to be delicious in a few years.
That just gets a sort of swivel. Like you can hear the ratcheting joint.
And speculating about what your rear end might look like under that coat.
I am turning colors.
You're well spent.
I am, in fact, purple.
I'm just going to slide up. Um,
they kind of look, notice that he's turned colors, blush rather prettily as it happens, and giggle.
breathe. You just get this little Colette just slides up next to him and just breathe.
I need a drink.
Let's go get you a drink.
While that's been going on, Ulrich, what have you been up to?
Ulrich gets himself a drink and then goes to lurk on the edge of the dance floor, just people watching, seeing whose eye he's caught.
He
Not being
yeah.
not approachable, just presenting himself as his reputation would befit.
His eyes are caught by the given a second look, they're clearly a mercenary adventurer, the kind that aren't straight up battlefield mercenaries, but the kinds that you hire for really serious adventure treks to Cathay and that kind of places. And places like that, places that are known to be really dangerous. They've got an eye on you. There's a little bit of murmuring that I think you've seen that kind of murmuring before. That's wagers.
He'll go up to the mercenaries and tip his hat politely.
One of them is this. He's bigger than you.
Wow.
And he's. I mean, it's big, bushy, beard more serious than yours, but head is bald, and while he's clearly scruffy, he's as from a battlefield, in a battlefield look kind of thing. He's barbarian scruff. This, you can tell at a glance, is a man from Missouri. This is fantasy Russia. The other one is he's occasionally shooting. Magnus looks like I don't even with you. He's not as large as either Ulrich or the Asuran, but he's got an equally sort of rough and tumble. I do this for a living. I don't give a fuck what things look like. More of a tribal kind of a look. And yeah, Magnus will recognize this too, because Vendel's technically two countries. There's Vendel, which is there are the Vendel, who are the merchant princes, the rich, the sophisticated. And then there's the Vestin.
That are the Vikings.
Yeah. So you've got the clearly the Vestin looking over at Ulrich and going, sorry to be betting on you, but I honestly have money that you're going to want to. You're going to cause him some kind of physical injury within the first 3 hours.
Injury to who exactly, my friend?
The up-jumped puff head over there. The Asuran just leans over and goes, actually, I think this one, no, I give it 30 minutes in a combat situation and boom, to keep him out of the fight. He's just going to hurt himself. I mean, look at this. Look at him trying to keep tiny specks of dust off him. Look at this. You really think he's going to be dealing well with the blood? No. I do not envy you, my friend. I hope you're getting paid well for this one.
Well, a gentleman doesn't start fights, so I do not expect trouble, but I am curious where you think this blood is going to be coming from.
Honestly, there's things down there. I tend to the Surin is going. I tend to expect blood, not necessarily his. I didn't say his. There are going to be things, and he is either going to freak out about the blood, or freak out about the fact that the thing is maybe have too many legs or too many teeth or too much of something. He looks like one of those ones who has too much of something is a problem, and you are going to have to hit him to stop him from shrieking like girl. In fact,
That is fair.
I think the girl would probably not do the shrieking. I think even your book boy over there would probably do less of the shrieking. He looked. I have money that he is one of those ones that he panic over little things like people in his face, but you confront him with something with too many eyes and too many teeth and simply cannot be, and he will stick it with rapier until it stops moving, and then he will take it apart to see how it works. And the Vestin's just going, "You have a very interesting view of the world, my friend." Yes, but I've seen his type before. I've been around the world and I've seen people like him before. People like him, they die in fancy salons that do not serve proper beer.
Oh, you
But
do
they,
have my sympathy there, my friend.
yes, as you do ours. I honestly, we are mostly here for the entertainment value of mockery and betting. We are to make final judgments on whether this is worth the investment. What would you say about your group? You seem to have at least met a little bit, which is more than most groups like this they tend to do.
Oh, as you've observed, two of them seem to have their senses together in one degree or another, and the third may struggle to keep his senses anywhere outside of this environment. But I do admit he stands out less in a salon than the three of us.
Oh yes, but these things are these things are waste of time for anything but gathering the money.
Hmm. And what have you been investing in?
Oh, we are not here for the investing, friend. Do we look like we have that much money? We are advisors to the money men.
Oh.
We are looking we are to be looking at you to decide whether you are worth the monies they are going to be paying to ensure that you do not starve to death down there.
Well, I can't speak too much to the others, but I can assure you that I am worth every coin for my services.
Yes, we know your reputation.
No, that is quite good to hear.
Yes and no. It's I'm sure that at one point you were probably happier fighting for home than for coin.
Well, honorable work takes many forms, I think.
And what happens if job becomes less honorable?
Well, then it's not the sort of job a gentleman would do, now is it?
And if you find out in the middle of job, what do you do then?
I'm confident I will do the right thing. Honor is not a matter to be discarded in the face of difficulty. If I am hired to protect those three individuals, then I will do so, or I will fall in the process of it.
And if job involved the finding and retrieving of certain items that might not be safe.
Oh, I expect the details of that would be more in the veins of those more scholarly types over there, and I only have to make sure that there's nothing with too many legs or other appendages getting close to them. Matters of artifacts are a bit beyond me.
Out of character question, are you lying right now?
No, not lies. He's dodging the question. He's not really sure of the full context yet, so he doesn't want to He doesn't want to give his word as a gentleman
Yes,
because he doesn't know the full
but
context.
at the same time, he's very much suggesting he doesn't know what he'd do if, and that is a lie. So I would
Yeah,
like you
okay.
to roll deception.
Okie doke.
Funnily enough, the Vestin kind of nods. The Asuran, did forget to write down your languages, but Asuran is one that he actually speaks. And the Asuran sort of looks at the Vestin and goes, "Go get a drink, torture your countrymen." Fear a little grin and wanders off to where Magnus is, and then quietly in Usuran, "Listen, my friend, is not to dodge this with me. I do not know exactly what it is they will ask you to be finding, but odds are fairly good that is something unsafe from the side of the unnatural, if you take my meaning. It would not do particularly well for that to come into the hands of some people, and I'm hoping that if these things must go into hands of anyone, and hoping very much that they do not, but things happen, honor is a situation, I understand it, that those hands are the right ones.
I haven't had the opportunity to talk with Madame Dupay about what exactly we are looking for, and the Mademoiselle did imply that the Madame herself is only relaying this
Yes, that would
thing
mean
she might be interested in. Do you
consider.
know who exactly is
I do not.
the ultimate investor?
I do not know, but I have a feeling that your Vendel friend has been used a little bit. If this, as I believe, come from as high in the nobility as possible to go in this country, they might seek something to silence the ruction makers, revolutionaries.
Mm-hmm.
We do not handle, well, we do not have this kind of insurrection, but if we did, we would not handle it with 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 boom from beyond stars. But these people, they will use what shortcuts they can, especially after what happened the other month.
Mm.
I would listen closely for this. They, of course, will not admit it. But if things of destructive are found, they would need to be locked away with people who would not use it or never see light of day. These things have a habit of getting away from people. Caligari Island, yes.
Mm. And if an item like this was found, who would be a safer people to safeguard it?
Well, let's see, what does he know? There are many groups, and their motives are always a little opaque. But I think it would all depend on. There are groups. There is one that is with the sneaky and somewhat attached to is funny is women and fae and things, and they seem to not have problem with revolution, but they do have problem with things dying in droves. They might be safe. It depends on what orders they are given and how much wiggle room they have in context of orders. There is scholarly group which would probably simply take it apart very carefully to find out how it works. They might do something with it by accident, but they would probably do it someplace where the only ones that would die would be scholar people. Because they do not want to end world that they are still studying, because they are not finished studying it yet. Just about everybody else, you probably do not want to have it. Most everybody else would probably just ensure that either is good threat against enemies or sell to people who want to use it to threaten their enemies for lots and lots of money.
The value of that is precisely why I asked. I appreciate your forthrightness.
Well, there is to be much dancing, both literal and not, in this sort of thing, so I thought that direct gentleman in... That is fantastic armor, by the way.
Thank you.
You must have done some superb things to earn it. But I thought that perhaps you were not sort of person given to dance.
Depends on the woman.
I think you would like, I think you would like my sister. She is home wrestling polar bears.
She sounds like quite the woman, but I can assure you, I have no intention of giving something destructive to some fool who would be reckless with it, if there is such a thing to be found.
Glances over at Magnus, who's basically at this point you've just got this aggressively passive aggressively friendly Veston, basically reminding you of your country's your roots just by existing, and he knows it, but he's just being so pleasant that you can't actually say he's doing anything wrong. Him in his barely tanned furs and his rune tattoos and...
Oh, if he keeps it up, I'm just going to say, well, I intend to dance. Do you care to join me?
And he does.
All right. Well, if that's the case, I'll put my arm around his waist and
off
make
they go. Make me a performance check.
Okay. Well, that's subpar.
That's a natural 18. So he's this barbarian is embarrassing you half to death on the dance floor. I mean, he moves fantastic.
Colette's just watching all this, and the only thought going through her mind is, well, he didn't get hired for his grace, so
Which, if you look at the yeah, okay. And so
George is very entertained.
yeah, that's it. That's essentially the end of that whole bit of conversation, and that's more or less put paid to poor any attempt Ulrich wanted to make on eavesdropping on the rich people. So much for that, which is just as well because we've about hit that time. So tune in next week when you actually get your private audience with Josephine Dupé and figure out as much as they want to actually tell you about why you're being sent down to the tunnels under Charouse. You guys are fantastic. I will see you next week.